Members of the Missouri state government have been making headline news in recent weeks, and for some of the strangest reasons, right? Some of the wackiest reasons. Now, this same thing holds true in the previous few days, and we're going to cover in this segment just some of the most bizarre, wackiest, disgusting, and self-serving reasons why. And we're going to start with as to why some of your favorites are in the know. We'll start with Attorney General Eric Schmidt. He posted on his Twitter feed. Meanwhile, they're going after parents showing up at school board meetings. Hashtag CRT. Hashtag no mask mandates. Now, we've already covered in a previous show about. We've talked and discussed about CRT and its implementation or lack thereof in the state of Missouri. We've discussed how representatives at the state level have been going after schools in the southwest of Missouri, demanding and honestly costing taxpayers, thousands upon thousands of dollars just to review their education materials, their records, and to have those, of course, redacted to be able to send to the representative using sunshine laws, just to check and see if maybe CRT was being taught unbeknownst to the racists in Jefferson City. But, despite all that, we also went over how some of the local nutcases in the southern part of Missouri, one in particular, the outlaw Josie Wales, who made false accusations and claims based on garbage evidence that critical race theory was being taught to children as young as 9 years old in local schools in the very center of southern Missouri, right? So, these whack jobs are just not going to stop, but this is really just reference material. We'll hold on to this for just a second. It really becomes more critical when we look at some of the later tweets by Eric Schmidt. This one, for instance, Eric Schmidt posted on October 11th, 2021. Now, keeping in mind that President Joe Biden had just declared his executive order, we're changing Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day for reasons that, if you don't know, Google it. I don't know, your Google's not broken. Take a look yourself. But, just as a way of knocking the president and to show their opposition to his position or his declaration, I guess, Attorney General Eric Schmidt tweeted, in 1492, the consensus among scientists was that the earth was flat. Christopher Columbus challenged that notion and changed the world forever. Hashtag Happy Columbus Day. Boy, I don't know about CRT, but this guy definitely could use a lesson in any kind of, history class, probably geared more toward 11-year-olds. I don't know where this guy went to school at, but they obviously failed him. And, don't take my word for it. I'm just some guy, you don't even know if I'm wearing pants, right? Don't take my word for it. I caught this a little bit later here. Let's take a look. So this is from KSDK, 5 on your side. Yes, it's an NBC production. Verify Christopher Columbus tweet from Missouri AG revives debunked flat earth myth. So let's, they made it easy for us. Let's take a look here.
Columbus Day was observed on Monday, and Missouri's Attorney General tweeted about the explorer, and it caused a bit of an online outcry for a fact check. Let's verify. Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt, who is running for U.S. Senate, made this argument on Twitter. In 1492, the consensus among scientists was that the earth was flat. Christopher Columbus challenged that notion and changed the world forever. It's been shared more than 1,000 times. Let's verify. Did the scientists of Columbus's time believe the earth was flat? And did Columbus set sail to prove them wrong? Our sources, Jeffrey Burton Russell's 1991 book, Inventing the Flat Earth. Burton Russell is an American historian and religious studies scholar with a PhD from Emory University. And Christopher Columbus himself. Russell wrote that many astronomers, scholars, and map makers in Columbus's time were talking about reaching the Indies over the ocean to the west. even using calculations by 2nd century mathematician Ptolemy to estimate how far it would be. Russell added that Columbus himself never wrote that he wanted to prove the Earth was round. He wrote in a letter that he wanted to find a westward path, principally to reopen trade routes that had been blockaded in the east and south. Spanish councils at the time debated whether the return trip would be more challenging because of the curvature of the Earth, and suggested, based on Ptolemy's calculations, that it would just be too far to be practical. Historians today suspect Columbus misled the King and Queen of Spain with underestimates of the distance in order to get funding. His projection for the trip was about 20% its actual length, wrote Russell. So we can verify. The scientists of Columbus's time did not believe that the Earth was flat, and Columbus did not set sail to prove them wrong. What can I verify for you? Reach out.
So I think what we just verified is that Attorney General Eric Schmidt probably needs to go back to school. It only gets more ridiculous from there. But, I guess one could make the argument that Ptolemy made his calculations using geometry, which, is part and parcel to, an older system of algebra that was created by the Babylonians, but that, of course, originated in the Middle East, and because they're brown people, that's, nothing that he would be too concerned with. It is what it is, and these people, their Google's not broken either. Their brains are broken, I guess. And speaking of folks whose brains are broken, this really could only lead us to one place, and that's back to Associated Press. So let's just jump right in for more nonsense from the king. Missouri governor slams paper for uncovering data security flaw. What? Okay, we got to take a look at this. So, Republican Governor Mike Parson on Thursday condemned one of Missouri's largest newspapers for exposing a flaw in a state database that allowed public access to thousands of teachers' social security numbers. Good thing someone figured that out. Maybe if the state government wasn't still using, Windows, Windows Explorer, Microsoft, Windows Explorer. I mean, they at least update to Edge or something. I mean, it's 2021, but, gotta give credit where credit's due there, Mikey P. Even though the paper held off reporting about the flaw until after the state could fix it. Well, that was awful nice of them. I guess they really didn't have to. They could have just came out and been like, hey, you folks are screwing up, and we're going to expose it, right? I mean, that's like going the extra step. That's going the extra mile, right? So we saw earlier, it was discussed on that Fox News segment where their reporters didn't even care to continue researching the countries that they referenced and their policies before just making a complete straw man argument about the law in the United States, the law in Mississippi, the law, in general, and use those same straw man arguments to argue their position regarding abortion. So in this case, we're actually going above and beyond journalistic integrity, because I'm just going to tell you, if I catch you with your pants down, watch it. But so Parson told reporters outside his Capitol office that the Missouri State Highway Patrol's Digital Forensic Unit will be conducting investigation of all those involved, and that his administration had spoken to the prosecutor in Cole County, which includes the state capital, Jefferson City. Now, when he says that they're looking into all those involved, he means his people, right? That allowed the leak to take place, I assume, maybe? That would make sense, right? He didn't elaborate as to what he meant by involved, or whether investigators would be looking into whether the St. Louis Dispatch broke the law during the course of its reporting on the data vulnerability. I guess the Constitution's, it's pick. We just pick and choose what parts of it we want to follow. Freedom of the press, you forget about it. The Post-Dispatch broke the news about the security flaw on Wednesday. The newspaper said it discovered the vulnerability in a web application that allowed the public to search teachers' certifications and credentials. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education removed the pages from its website on Tuesday after being told about the issue by the Post-Dispatch, which said it gave the state time to fix the problem before they published the story. So essentially, by them taking that extra step in their journalistic integrity, they basically they protected the staff better than the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. I'm just saying. The Post-Dispatch estimated that more than 100,000 Social Security numbers were vulnerable, based on pay records and other data. It found that the school workers' Social Security numbers were in the HTML source code of the pages involved because you idiots did not update your system in the last 20 years. Are you kidding me right now? The state is unaware of any misuse of individual information or even whether information was assessed inappropriately outside of this isolated incident. The DESE said in a news release, well, they're journalists. They're not terrorists. Though the Post-Dispatch alerted the agency to the problem and held off on the story, the agency's news release called the person who discovered the vulnerability a hacker, an apparent reference to the reporter who took the records of at least 3 educators. The agency it didn't elaborate as to what it meant by took the records, and it declined to discuss the issue further than what it said in the news release when reached by Associated Press. Source codes are accessible by right-clicking on public web pages. Wow. So that's insane that it was just that simple, and for how long, and wow. The newspaper's president and publisher, Ian Caso, said in a statement that the Post-Dispatch stands by the story and the reporter who he said did everything right. It's regrettable that the governor has chosen to deflect blame on the journalists who uncovered the website's problem and brought it to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's attention. Caso said. Parson also suggested that the reporter somehow broke the law. This individual is not a victim, Parson told reporters. They were acting against a state agency to compromise teachers' personal information in an attempt to embarrass the state and sell headlines for their news outlet. We will not let this crime against Missouri teachers go unpunished, and I think you've been doing a great job embarrassing the state of Missouri since you were elected into office. I'm just saying, and they're doing a good job, even before that, in the previous term here. But, Peter Swire, cyber law expert and professor at the Georgia Institute of Technology School of Cybersecurity and Privacy, said flagging security vulnerabilities on publicly accessible websites is a public service and is clearly not criminal under federal law. Right-clicking does not count as criminal hacking. Bruh, Swire said. That's not a quote, that's paraphrasing. Joseph Martineau, an attorney for the Post-Dispatch, said in a statement that the reporter did the responsible thing by reporting his findings to DESE so that the state could act to prevent disclosure and misuse. A hacker is someone who subverts computer security with malicious or criminal intent. Here, there was no breach of any firewall or security, and certainly no malicious intent, because obviously they didn't have anything in place to prevent anyone. And, the really scary part about this is all of those people that Attorney General Eric Schmidt was talking about who were, just fine, upstanding people coming to these school board meetings. Those are the QAnon whack jobs who were at the Capitol on January 6th, and their supporters and the rest of their cult who were coming to these school board meetings and disrupted. They had access to all of this information for however long. And Governor Mikey P wants to blame journalists. Come on, and do your job, and you probably won't have these kinds of problems. I don't know, you know. This guy's just trying to save face. It's just disgusting. Clearly, let's see. For the DESC to deflect its failures by referring to this as hacking is unfounded, Martineau said. Jean Manicky, an attorney for the Missouri Press Association, said she doubted any judge would allow this to proceed very far. Well, don't be surprised in Missouri, because it's very much a thing. They've so far let Governor Mike Parson commit all sorts of acts that are otherwise against Missouri state law, federal law. Clearly, the Post-Dispatch warned of the issue of the state of this issue. Manicky said there's no evidence of any criminal or malicious intent in the act. There's no attempt to steal information. There's no basis for him, Parson, to say that there's any kind of illegal act from the Post-Dispatch. Byron Clemens, a spokesman for AFT St. Louis Local 420, said the teachers union isn't aware of any educators' information being misused. But we are concerned over the attempt to deflect responsibility and politicize what is very obviously a security breach by the state, Clemens said in a statement. Meanwhile, Parsons said the state will address security issues raised by the newspaper's reporting. We're working to strengthen our security to prevent this incident from happening again, Parsons said. The state is owning its part, and we're addressing areas in which we need to do better than we have done before. Owning its part, I mean, it's 100% the state's fault. It's 100% your fault, actually. You're the governor. You're the one that these departments, look to for executive action. You're the de facto, CEO of the state of Missouri. Do your freaking job, bro. I mean, this is just crazy that he would try and deflect this onto the journalists who provided this information to him. And I mean, that's a good way to put it. That's a public service. They didn't have to let him know. They didn't have to do anything. Someone came across it, likely, he was either the reporter themselves or possibly a parent. Hell, maybe even an educator who came across this, tipped off the journalists there, the reporters there. I mean, there's no telling how they came across even finding this. The governor should find himself very lucky that this wasn't a bigger scandal when, without, unbeknownst to the states and unbeknownst to these departments, all of this information was compromised and we had an actual hack that actually hurt these people that Governor Mikey P is just not trying to help. There's a lot to look at right there.